Hello, everybody. Pastor Jared here, and I want to talk to you today about something with the organizational structure and the way that we operate as a church. Right now, a lot of different companies are rethinking the way that they do business, the way that they operate. This is a great time because in the middle of this pandemic, it's less foot traffic. There's less pressing things happening under our nose right now. And so it's a great time to think ahead, to forward look into where we should be, to cast some vision. And so that's what I want to do today. I have already pitched you guys a big picture vision for what the mission of our church should be. We've talked about that earlier this year. Now I'd like to pitch to you a different vision for how we operate, the structure of our church. So let me first say, before I give you what I'm thinking, two things. First of all, these would require votes, what I'm about to tell you. So this is not something that I'm declaring to you today is happening just by fiat. This is something that I'm proposing to you, and at some point we will need to vote on this as a church, because wrapped in what I'm saying are probably many different constitutional bylaw changes that we'll make to our church. So right now I'm just talking. I'm just pitching a different picture to you. The second thing that I would tell you is that I have already shown this to our deacon body, and I have shown this to our select committee, who has begun working. Both of those groups have been very positive about what I've shown. So it's been a favorable hearing so far, and so that's why I feel confident in giving this to you, the church body, now at this point, so that you can think about whether or not this is something good that you see as a good direction for our church. It gives you time to ask any clarifying questions to me, because at some point I will bring this to our church body for a vote. And I just want to give you some time in the middle of, well, the only way I can talk to you right now is through video. And so I want to give you some time to think about it. All right. And I guess there's a third thing that I'm going to share before I give you this. Nothing is perfect. Okay. So the system that we have been operating on is not perfect. And probably the thing I'm going to pitch you is not perfect. You can shoot holes in anything. I would just ask that the standard be, is it better than what we have? Is what I'm pitching you going to help us be more efficient, more streamlined, more easy to understand to those that join our church? Is it something that we can hold up and be proud of and say, this is how we operate, we like it, and we think it glorifies God? So I'm going for simple here, okay? So here's what I want to show you in a couple of images. The first is a picture of the way we currently operate and have operated for some time. I know every year things change a little bit, but what you're seeing in front of you right now is the current structure. So if you'll notice, the way we operate at Calvary Hills is a system of directors and of committees. Directors are individual people. Committees are groups of people with a chairperson for each committee. And so that's primarily been how this church has operated. There's benefits to this. There's probably drawbacks to this. What I want to show you is a picture where we take some of the best of both of those things and combine them. So now what I'm going to show you is my proposed structure. So if you look, you will see on the left, I've brought everything we do down into 10 teams. Okay, so there's 10 teams total now. Each team has a structure that looks a bit like a pyramid. You'll have a leader of each team. That's one single person who is the point person, the one that primarily will be talking with me, the pastor, about the ministries of the church. Underneath that leader, there will be a group of people that I'm calling members. That can be, if it's a team that only needs one group under it, well, you could have one group that would look somewhat like a committee. It would be 3 to 5 people. That's where the planning is going to take place. That's where the agenda setting for the year is going to take place. The execution and review of events and things that are done. Those top 2 sections of the pyramid, that's where people are chosen to be a part of that team. That's where business happens, okay? And then on the bottom level, I'm calling supporters. Think of that as volunteers someone who isn't necessarily a part of that team. They haven't been chosen or elected in any way, but they still have a heart to serve in that area. And so when that team has an event, they come alongside and provide a helping hand in any way that the team members ask for. And so I think this helps us to understand not everyone should be speaking into the direction of a team in the church. That should be the leader and its members. But we also don't want people to say, I can't serve in the church unless I'm appointed to a position. Well, that's not true either. And so hopefully this helps solve a bit of that rub. So in case you're wondering what this would look like, the next picture I'm going to show you is sort of laid out what this would look like in our church. So I've taken all 10 teams, scattered them left to right. You'll see them there: children, youth, Bible studies, missions, worship media, hospitality, safety, finance, facilities, Mother's Day out. So you take all of those. For the cleanness of the picture, just picture that there's a triangle under each of those teams. But for the picture, I just put one down there to show you. But every team would operate on that pyramid structure of a leader, members, and supporters. And then clearly they directly report to me as the overseer of the body, the one who is helping to make sure we're all on the same page. And so really this would also help redefine our church council. The top layer of the 10 leaders plus myself and plus one of our deacons would make up our ministry team. Traditionally that has been church council, but I would call it a ministry team. So imagine all of these are in vertical columns. So children, youth, Bible study, they're all in a vertical column with a leader, members, and supporters. And myself and those leaders would gather as the ministry team. So this is a team-driven model. I hope what it does is simplify what we do, to be able to show to someone who says, hey, I'd like to serve in your church. What are the areas of service? You could just show them this chart and say, hey, we have 10 areas. And even under those 10 areas, there's going to be subcategories. You know, not everything is neat and perfect. There's going to be subgroups under these teams. But primarily, we should be able to fit everything we do into a team, into a category, a department. And so I hope that this clarifies a bit what I'm looking to do in the future. A team-driven approach with leaders. Letting our leaders lead is important to me. And so I want to show this to you now and say at some point there'll be a more full description of what this is. I'm going to have to make sure that there is a leader job description for each area. We're going to define every single item underneath each team. So everything in our church should be able to have a home. So you should be able to name anything our church does, and I could put it in one of those 10 categories and say, well, that's the point person now who's responsible for reporting and executing and creating an agenda for that. So like I said, you've probably got questions that you could think of. There's going to be a lot of discussion that will happen, but this is the big picture that I want to set forth, give you time to think it over, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions or concerns. I'd love to talk to you. This is not, the ink is still wet on this, and so I'd be happy to discuss with you things that you see here. But this is something I will present in the future, and I would love for us to be able to operate under this even this year. So I'm putting that out to you guys. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.